You think you've seen Roman Reigns angry before? You think you've witnessed the true power of the head of the table? Think again. Because what transpired when Bron Breakker and Bronson Reed thought they could intimidate the tribal chief was nothing short of nuclear devastation. And let me tell you something right now, if you're one of those fans who thinks Roman's lost his edge since his return, if you believe for 1 second that the original tribal chief has gone soft, you're about to eat those words hard. The man didn't just make an entrance, he made a statement that sent shockwaves through every wrestler in that locker room. But here's what's got me absolutely livid, and what should have every WWE fan questioning everything. WWE management knew this confrontation was brewing for weeks, and they did nothing to prevent what became the most explosive segment of the year. They let chaos unfold, and now we're dealing with the aftermath of what might be the most dangerous alliance destruction in WWE history. Bron Breakker, the self-proclaimed future of WWE, standing in that ring with Bronson Reed like they owned the place. These two powerhouses, thinking they could stake their claim on Monday Night Raw without consequence. Reed, fresh off his devastating attacks on multiple superstars, and Breakker, riding high on his Intercontinental Championship momentum, both of them convinced they were untouchable. The arrogance was sickening. Breakker on the microphone, talking about how the new generation was taking over WWE, how the old guard needed to step aside. Reed standing there like a mountain of destruction, nodding along as if they'd already conquered the mountain. The disrespect was palpable. And then, silence. The lights didn't dim. There was no countdown, no special effects. Just the unmistakable sound of Roman's music hitting, and the entire arena erupted. But this wasn't the usual Roman Reigns entrance we've grown accustomed to. This was something primal, something dangerous. Roman walked down that ramp with a look I've never seen before, not anger, not frustration, pure predatory focus. He wasn't there to cut a promo. He wasn't there to issue warnings. He was there to annihilate everything in his path. The moment Roman stepped through those ropes, you could feel the shift in the arena. Breakker and Reed, these two monsters who had been dominating everyone in their way, suddenly looked like deer in headlights. And Roman? Roman looked like he was about to feast. "I'll destroy you all." Those 5 words didn't just echo through the arena, they shattered the foundation of whatever alliance Breakker and Reed thought they had. The way Roman delivered that line, the venom in his voice, the absolute certainty that he meant every syllable, it sent chills down my spine. But what happened next is what has me questioning everything about WWE's current landscape. Instead of backing down, instead of showing the respect that the tribal chief deserves, Breakker stepped forward. This rookie, this young lion who hasn't even scratched the surface of what Roman Reigns has accomplished, had the audacity to square up with the head of the table. And Bronson Reed? This man who's been bulldozing through superstars for months, suddenly found his voice and started talking about how Roman's time was over, how the new generation was ready to take his spot. The disrespect was beyond comprehension. That's when Roman's mask completely slipped. The composed, calculated tribal chief we've known vanished, and what emerged was something terrifying. He grabbed the microphone with such force I thought he was going to crush it, and what he said next will be replayed for years to come. "You think you know destruction? You think you understand dominance? I am the standard in this business. I am the benchmark every single one of you will be measured against until the day you retire. And if you want to test that theory, if you want to see what happens when you disrespect the tribal chief, then step up." The crowd was deafening. But what made this moment legendary wasn't just Roman's words, it was what happened immediately after. Breakker, in a moment of what can only be described as temporary insanity, actually shoved Roman Reigns. The arena went nuclear. Security rushed the ring, but Roman waved them off. He wanted this confrontation. He craved the opportunity to remind these young superstars exactly why he's been the face of this company for years. What followed was 3 minutes of the most intense physicality we've seen on WWE programming in months. Roman didn't just fight back, he dominated. Every move was calculated, every strike was surgical, every moment was designed to send a message not just to Breakker and Reed, but to every superstar watching backstage. Reed tried to use his size advantage, attempting to overpower Roman with brute force. Mistake. Roman countered with the precision of a master technician, turning Reed's own momentum against him and sending the big man crashing into the corner turnbuckles with such impact that the ring literally shook. Breakker, showing the athleticism that's made him Intercontinental Champion, launched himself at Roman with everything he had. But here's what separates legends from pretenders. Roman caught him mid-air and transitioned into the most devastating Superman punch I've ever witnessed. Breakker went down like he'd been hit by lightning, but Roman wasn't finished. Oh no. The tribal chief was just getting started. He grabbed Reed by the throat and delivered a promo that will go down in WWE history. "This is my company. This is my ring. And anyone who thinks they can walk into my house and disrespect what I've built will learn the hard way why I am the head of the table." The way Roman controlled that chaos, the way he systematically dismantled two of WWE's most dominant forces, was nothing short of masterful. This wasn't just a physical confrontation, it was a clinic on why Roman Reigns remains the alpha predator in WWE. And here's what has me absolutely furious with WWE management: where was the security? Where was the intervention? They allowed this situation to escalate to the point where Roman felt compelled to handle it himself. The lack of leadership, the absence of authority figures when genuine chaos erupted, is inexcusable. Triple H, if you're watching this, your superstars are running wild, and the tribal chief had to restore order himself. What does that say about your leadership? What message does that send to the rest of the roster? But let's talk about the real story here, the aftermath. After Roman's domination display, after he'd reminded everyone exactly why he's called the head of the table, what did he do? He didn't celebrate. He didn't gloat. He stood in the center of that ring and issued an open challenge that has every superstar in WWE questioning their position. Anyone else want to test me? Anyone else think they're ready to sit at the head of my table? The line forms behind these two, and I'll work my way through every single one of you until you understand that there's only one tribal chief in this company. The implications of this challenge are staggering. Roman isn't just targeting Breakker and Reed anymore, he's essentially declared war on anyone who thinks they can challenge his supremacy. This is bigger than a feud, this is Roman Reigns reasserting his dominance over the entire WWE landscape. And can we talk about the hypocrisy of the WWE Universe's reaction? For months, fans have been complaining about Roman's character development, suggesting he'd gone soft, claiming they wanted the old Roman back. Well, congratulations, you got exactly what you asked for. But now that you've seen the unleashed version of the tribal chief, are you ready for the consequences? Because make no mistake, this version of Roman Reigns is dangerous. This isn't the calculated, methodical champion we've grown accustomed to. This is the raw, primal force that originally took over WWE and never looked back. And if Breakker and Reed thought they were prepared for this level of intensity, they learned very quickly that they weren't even close. The most infuriating part of this entire situation is how predictable it was. Anyone who's been paying attention could see this confrontation coming from miles away. Breakker's growing arrogance, Reed's unchecked aggression, and Roman's increasing frustration with the lack of respect being shown, all the pieces were in place for this explosion. But WWE management, in their infinite wisdom, decided to let the situation fester until it reached this boiling point. Now they're dealing with a scenario where their biggest star has essentially gone rogue, and two of their rising talents have been publicly humiliated on live television. And let's not forget the broader implications for the WWE Championship picture. With Roman making it clear that he's not tolerating any challenges to his authority, how does this affect the current title scene? How does this impact the upcoming pay-per-view events? The ripple effects of this confrontation will be felt for months. Here's what's really grinding my gears: the revisionist history that's already starting online. Suddenly, everyone's an expert on what Roman should have done differently, how he could have handled the situation better. But where were these voices when Breakker and Reed were running roughshod over the roster? Where was the outrage when these two were disrespecting everything Roman has built? The double standard is maddening. When Roman dominated WWE for years, fans complained about his push. When he stepped back and allowed others to shine, fans complained about his absence. Now that he's returned with fire and reminded everyone why he's the top guy, fans are complaining about his intensity. There's no pleasing some people. But here's the truth that nobody wants to acknowledge: Roman Reigns saved Monday Night Raw last night. Without his intervention, without his willingness to step up and restore order, we would have witnessed the complete breakdown of any semblance of hierarchy in WWE. Breakker and Reed were on the verge of declaring themselves the new leaders of the company, and Roman refused to let that happen. The way Roman handled that confrontation, the precision with which he dismantled both opponents while delivering career-defining promos, was textbook championship behavior. This is what a real leader looks like when his authority is challenged. This is how a true champion responds when pretenders try to claim his throne. And if you think this story is over, if you believe Roman's message has been received and understood, you're seriously mistaken. This was just the opening salvo in what promises to be the most intense feud in WWE's recent history. Breakker and Reed aren't going to simply accept this humiliation and fade into the background. They're going to come back harder, more determined, and probably with backup. The war lines have been drawn, the battle has been joined, and Roman Reigns has made it abundantly clear that he's ready for whatever comes next. The question isn't whether he can handle the challenge, it's whether WWE is prepared for the level of chaos that's about to unfold. So mark your calendars, set your reminders, and prepare yourselves for the most explosive storyline in WWE. Because when the dust settles, when all the battles have been fought and all the scores have been settled, there will still be only one tribal chief, only one head of the table, and his name is Roman Reigns.